For more than 5 decades, Leesburg journalist Frank Stanfield has been telling the stories that shape our community. Known for covering the courts for newspapers like the Orlando Sentinel and the Leesburg Daily Commercial, Stanfield has reported on some of Central Florida's most gripping cases. He's also the author of 4 books, including his memoir, Vampires, Gators, and Wackos, A Florida Newspaperman's Life, and several true crime titles about infamous local cases. His latest, Murder in the Graveyard, a Family Cult Tragedy, explores the shocking murder of Sue Ellen Anselmo. Today on Inside Leesburg, we sit down with Frank Stanfield to talk about his remarkable career in journalism and the story behind his newest book. Frank, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. And viewers, a quick note, journalism is a really small world. When Frank retired from the Daily Commercial, I stepped into his role as a staff reporter. Later, when I became editor, Frank was still freelancing for the paper. So it's especially good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
And welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I want to start to talk about how you got your start in journalism. You say that storytelling is in your roots. Tell me about those.
My family, my big extended family, from the Midwest, farmers, they had great storytelling, oral storytelling on the front porch. And they would tell all these stories back and forth. Some of them were funny, some of them were tragic, but I just learned to listen. And so that's where I got my start, really. I thought the importance of storytelling right there.
Amazing. Those front porch stories had to be enthralling.
They were great. I had one uncle that was really funny, and he was always a prankster, so he was on the volunteer fire department. So one day they were having an exercise where they were pumping water out of a ditch. And so some nosy guy stopped by and says, "What's going on?" He says, "Well, this lady fell in the ditch and we're pumping the water off of her," That kind of stuff.
Right. So you've said that the date, November 22nd, 1963, was another reason that you got into journalism.
Right.
Tell me about that.
I was 13 years old, and that was when JFK was assassinated. And it all happened on TV, and a lot of that happened live. So I also saw Lee Harvey Oswald be shot to death live on TV. It was a crazy thing, but I got to see how journalists work, and they pursued every angle. It was just very dramatic. I mean, people talk about journalists make stuff up. They don't make stuff up, not real journalists.
No.
And it just takes you right there to it. And of course, that story is still being talked about today, but it had a major impact on me.
So what is it like being a working journalist in Florida for 50 years?
Well, Florida is insane. It's great. I think people's brain gets fried in the sun, So you hear this Florida man, blah, 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 whatever. It's a crazy thing. But it's because people come here from all over, and they don't have good family ties anymore. And there's drifters and gifters and grifters, and all these folks come here, and it's just amazing, really.
Yeah. And we do have a broad public records law that allows us to get details that maybe other states wouldn't.
And it used to be better.
Yep.
I mean, it was a great law when they passed it, and every year the legislature chips away at it.
Yep, sure do. How has faith guided your career?
Oh, I'm a big believer. I'm a Christian. So, God talks in the Bible about justice, and that just sticks with me. And it really infuriates me if I don't see justice. I like to see justice.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about court reporting. Unless they're in journalism, our viewers might know how much of a lost art it really is. Tell us what goes into court reporting.
Well, it's all about building trust and relationships. If they don't trust you, they won't talk to you. I mean, they're very, very sensitive about that in the courthouse.
Yep.
They don't want you to ruin their case. And so if you take something off the record, you keep your word. If they mess up, you say, look, I love you to death, but I'm going to put it in the paper anyway. It just has to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's a mutual respect kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's almost a different language, too, that you have to learn.
It is. I've learned a lot about the law. And if I don't understand it, of course, I'll ask somebody. But I've learned a lot about the law, actually. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So as you know, the journalism industry has shrunk massively over the last 20 years. Do you see local journalism as integral to a community's health, and why or why not?
Absolutely, because it's all about transparency. You know, the government needs to be transparent. The business community needs to be transparent. And of course, journalism needs to be transparent too. And you need to be held accountable for what you're doing. Back in the old days, I would go into the grocery store and I would be encountered by somebody that said, hey, I saw your story. It's a victim's family or something. Mm-hmm. And they're upset. And I said, well, tomorrow's story is going to be different because it's a different day in court. And so I said, just hang on. I'm reporting what happened. This is what the defense attorney said. Well, tomorrow the prosecutors, it's going to be their turn or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. That feedback is important that you get from the community too.
It is.
Very.
It's essential.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we'll talk more about Frank's books. Welcome back. Joining us in the studio today is Frank Stanfield, a longtime journalist known for his expertise in court reporting. Frank has just released his latest book, Murder in the Graveyard, a family cult tragedy, which explores a shocking and tragic local case. We're glad to have him here with us to talk about it today. Before we dive into your new book, Frank, I want to talk about your earlier works. Your first book, Unbroken, the Dorothy Lewis story, was published in 2011. Tell us about that case and what inspired you to write a book about it.
Well, it was Dorothy Lewis was a young widow of two little girls rather. And she went to the grocery store in Eustis to pick up, it was Saturday night, she had forgotten she needed to get some stuff for a Sunday school luncheon the next day. She was carjacked and shot and left for dead, and her little girls were murdered, and she was raped. She survived. And so she didn't just survive, but her faith carried her through. And to the point where she was able to forgive the people that did it to her. Just an incredibly strong, courageous woman. And she would tell you, in her own words, that she would be crazy if it wasn't for God. So that's what carried her through. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, and you've kept in touch with her over the years.
I have, yes. In fact, we're working on getting a reprint of the book because it's out of print right now.
Oh, wow. Amazing, amazing. Next up, you wrote Vampires, Gators, and Wackos, A Florida Newspaperman's Life, which was published in 2014. What inspired you to write a book about your experiences as a journalist?
I just wanted to share the stories, really. They're great stories. And it talks about, you talk about the importance of journalism. One of the stories is I got a tip one time about how Mount Dora was classifying a death as a natural cause, but it was murder, and they were covering it up. And I got to a point where I could write all these stories, putting pressure on the authorities. They got the guy dug up and tested, and they found out, oh yes, he was murdered. And so then the guy confessed and was convicted of second-degree murder. So that's the kind of story you like to tell, you know, justice.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And lastly, you published Cold Blooded, a true crime story of a murderous teenage vampire cult in 2022. It's about vampire cult leader Rod Farrell, and he killed one of his followers' parents. I remember you covering the 25th anniversary of this crime and his retrial when we worked together at the commercial. Tell us about that case.
This kid was only 16 years old, but he was a charismatic kind of character and very into the goth whole thing. And he got this little clique together with him. And they were just so evil and so caught up in this, they actually believed they were vampires and things. So this story made international headlines.
Yep.
And the trial, of course. And so I was just captivated by the thing. I said, what motivates? I always want to know why.
Yeah.
What happened to this kid that, led him to this? And of course, a trial, you cover the whole thing from the beginning to through the trial. Then you get a real good picture of what's going on. So this kid's family was messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
You could understand it better that way.
Yeah. And he was ultimately given a life sentence, correct?
First, he was sentenced to death.
Yeah.
Then the Florida Supreme Court overturned that. Then he was sentenced to life. And then the U.S. Supreme Court keeps moving the goalpost.
Yep.
So he gets another shot at a new sentencing trial, and but he gets life again.
Yeah.
So.
Death penalty cases, especially those in Florida, are particularly unique.
Yeah, they are. The current state attorney, Bill Gladson, follows Brad King, who was another big proponent of the death penalty.
Yep.
And it's hard to do. It's hard to get a conviction for that.
Yep.
It's always controversial.
Yep.
James Duckett, a rookie cop, back in '87, kills this little girl, convicted of it, I should say, and now it's on appeal.
Yep.
He's supposed to be executed at the end of the month. We'll see.
Right, right. So as a journalist and author, you've covered many difficult topics and events. Your books are just a few examples of that. How do you keep your head on straight and your faith in humanity covering these tragedies?
I don't know. I don't know. I think only God would step in there and help me do that. But I have family support too.
Yeah.
What you do really is you look through a lens. You look through the lens. I've got to tell the victim's story. I've got to tell the story, the whole story, from everything I can find out about it, and you kind of focus that way. Otherwise, you go home and just cry. It's hysterical. Some things are very upsetting, though.
Yeah.
Just terrible. I hate cases against animals and children.
Yeah.
People doing things like that. It's just awful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Frank. When we get back, we take a deep dive into Frank's new book. Welcome back. Here in the studio with us today is Frank Stanfield, a longtime local journalist and author. Frank, thanks so much again for sitting down with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So your new book just released, Murder in the Graveyard, A Family Cult Tragedy. It just came out. And can I start by asking, how do you decide when a case is worth a book?
I think it's the wow factor. Like people say, what in the world? That's the real thing right there.
Yeah. And what specifically captivates you about this case?
Oh, from the beginning, Ian Anselmo calls 911. He's sobbing and howling and carrying on, complete breakdown. And he says, I killed somebody. Then he says, I accidentally killed somebody. Who did you kill? My stepmother, who's pregnant, Sue Ellen Anselmo, 39 years old. And then he says, I guess I strangled her. You guess? And where did this happen? Oh, it happened in Greenwood Cemetery in Eustis. So that's another thing that's just weird.
Yeah.
And that graveyard actually was the site of Rod Farrell's blood drinking initiation for the girl whose parents he killed.
Oh, the same graveyard.
Same cemetery.
Wow.
So that's another thing that just goes, what in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. And Ian Anselmo was found guilty in 2024 of murdering his stepmom in 2019, and he got life in prison. Tell us about what covering that trial was like.
Well, from the beginning, I covered the story from the beginning. That is, so I got a hold of the family. I got a hold of what started this whole thing was Deja Thoris is her name. She was the adopted daughter of John Anselmo, Ian's dad. So she said she was molested as a child. And so when Sue Ellen found out about that, she left, took 6 of their biological little kids with her to go move in with Deja. And that set the whole thing up going. What happened then was Ian tried to get her to come back, and she said no, basically. She said, and he says, well, the kids are going to be upset. And, you know, she said no, they'll get over it, and he snapped and killed her. So in a homicide investigation, there's no secrets. So they find out that this John Anselmo, he runs a cult, basically. These kids are little kids, big kids. Deja is just a few months younger than Ian. They're not allowed to have any friends, not any phone, no car, no contact with the outside world. They're only allowed to watch old TV shows and the Wiggles and that kind of thing. Completely isolated from society. So they find out all that. And then John, what made me so mad was John was blaming Sue Ellen. Oh, she's crazy. She was banging her head against the wall, all this kind of, not Ian's fault, not his fault, it's Sue Ellen's fault, blaming the victim, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
That was another incentive. I wasn't going to write a book about it, but then I said, that's it.
Yeah. You kind of felt like you had to clear her name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Blaming the victim, I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So where can readers get your book?
On Amazon or Wild Blue Press is the best places.
Frank, before we let you go, is there anything else you've got in the works?
I've been covering the Duckett case, James Duckett, who murdered this little girl, 11-year-old girl, and raped her and dumped her in a lake. He was a rookie police officer and mascot at the time. And I was working for the Sentinel, then I was assistant county editor. So I had people working for me back then covering that case. And then I've covered the appellate issues for years. So now he's supposed to be executed at the end of the month. And now he's up for final hearings and appeals and so on. So I'll be doing some things on that too.
Yeah, yeah. Frank, thank you so much for meeting us today, and it was wonderful to see you again.
Good to see you.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Inside Leesburg. To explore more of Frank Stanfield's work, visit his website at frankestanfield.com. He's also a contributor for Style magazine, where you can find more of his local reporting. And of course, if you'd like to read his latest book, Murder in the Graveyard, a family cult tragedy, check it out on Amazon or Wild Blue Press. Until next time, I'm Katie Sartoris.